Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Radio Free Wall Street. And I want you to know we're having a difficult week here. We're trying to use the holiday slowdown to do integration where we're going to a fiber system. The reason why we're having to upgrade is that with the streaming and all that we're doing, our old systems just don't give us adequate bandwidth, and we're trying to improve the user experience, chopping delays out. And when it's finished, it's going to be a really nice system. It'll allow our throughput to be much higher, and it'll enhance what we call the user experience. That's you. I want to talk to you about a troubling night tonight is. Life gets down to moments. It's moments when someone says, let's go do something bad, and you say, yeah, or no, I was going home. Or that beautiful girl you proposed to her. And that moment when you make these decisions that change the direction of your life, okay? And I know all of us have had those moments, and I've been fortunate enough that most of the time I've been able to guess right and say yes at the right time and say no at the right time, and you know what I'm talking about. And we are at a time as a society of just such a moment, okay? And we're on the brink of trade wars. And Donald Trump has his deadline to impose sanctions against the Chinese. The Chinese are waiting and letting him go first. And this is one of those significant moments. We've had several significant moments in our lifetime. I think one of the changing ones for a lot of us was 9/11, which hit me particularly hard. It was a changing point in my life. When the regulators came down on us and I had to fight and spend so much money, it made me appreciate my free speech. And how important to me. I could no more not trade and not analyze markets than Einstein could not do math. I've been fortunate in that we've. And in fact, I just got off a conversation with one of my sources to find out what their feeling of things are, and we were talking about some other subjects. And I want to say something to you, and that is that in a lot of ways I feel like I'm on a crusade fighting evil. And let me tell you what that evil is. I don't know why a man that's a billionaire wants to be a trillionaire, and I don't know why a man would sell a drug or a medicine that will hurt people. I don't know why a huge investment banking firm will make bad investments to take people's money to make the firm bigger. I just don't understand it. And I feel like a lot of times on a one-man crusade to save people's lives from a real estate wipeout, from a depression, which I know is going to happen, from investments that I know are chock full of bad debt, okay? I pride myself in putting people into, and we create a little bit of stir there, in moving huge amounts of ordinary folks into Treasury Direct, into what I believe is an incredible investment instrument. And we have some incredible trades we're making right now. In fact, one of in oil, which is huge oil market manipulation. And I actually believe in my own mind, maybe it makes me a better trader, that I fight the evil forces that are really there to take people's money, to make people poor. And I really love using my brains and gifts, however they may be short or long. You don't judge me too harshly, but to make people's lives better. I'm very, very proud of the fact of the people that we've made wealthy through the years and that we've heard from, okay? And I regard this as a very critical time in our society, and I really want you to know that. And I want you to know why this is the case. And that is that we are sitting on something that in our lifetimes has never really happened, and that is a trading war. We're looking at the world system of free movement of people and goods being choked up and being stopped. We're looking at an evil, uglier side of, instead of America, welcome you, you're tired, you're poor, you're hungry and oppressed, we tell them to get the hell out and go where you come from. And to me that's disturbing. And I realize that we can't take everybody from all over the world into every country. I truly do. But I thought you had an obligation to take as many as you can. And as far as trade, I'm very, very troubled by the trading sanctions. I've been involved a lot in international trade and international export and import, and a lot in the bureaucracy, and I can tell you that it's hard to make goods move across borders, okay? It takes a lot of work. And I've been fortunate enough to see how the right duty programs, the right removal of sanctions, the right favored nation status improves the life of very poor people and does not deteriorate the life of Americans, by the way. America, as it has become a subject of unfair trade, if that's what you want to call it, I would say liberalized trade, gives benefits to countries that don't give the same benefits to us. And I've seen, despite how I'm told that's bad, how America's prospered amazingly so. I've seen America bring in immigrants from all over the world. I remember when the people from Vietnam were coming to the Vietnam War, if you remember that. And I've watched as various people from various places, as oppressive regimes take hold, America's opened the doors to them. And I understand that sometimes these people bring baggage, and sometimes they're not immediately compatible with our culture. But I can tell you that most everywhere I've lived, up till recent times, people have a great deal of respect for America and America's ways. And I've always believed that if you can get them to listen to your music, sing your song, eat your hamburgers, drive your cars, use our smartphones, that there's a great benefit in that. Okay, beyond the economics of it. Okay, beyond the that side of it that gets so dicey. So there are consequences, and there are blessings in how we handle our relationship with other people in the world around us, okay? And again, it's like Algo Guy. It's not simply a matter of the dollars and cents, okay? It's a matter of indoctrinating to your culture, eating the kinds of food you eat, having to do the entertainment. And I wonder if we're not forgetting a lot of that, okay? In Donald Trump's world, where it's a dollar cost basis of trade, I can tell you're going to end up with a lot less trade. We're going to end up with a lot less influence around the world, and that is bad. And I can tell you that other countries like China really understand that if America creates a vacuum in shutting down our borders to trade and to people and to restricting the movements of goods and services, that they will capitalize on that. I can tell you they're very smart about that. Do not underestimate the Chinese, and do not underestimate their understanding of America. And they send their kids paid for by the government en masse to America to be educated, and they're not doing that because they're stupid. And they truly understand how America does business, and they truly understand, should we say, the flaws in our society and the weaknesses they want to exploit. Do not underestimate China as an adversary. Do not underestimate the danger of a country like Russia. Do not underestimate the strength of America influence around the world. In other words, we pay too much for NATO? Well, okay. So? Is it really, an accounting, double-entry bookkeeping situation? Or if we pay the most to NATO, then that gives us the most influence. If we pay the most to the United Nations, again, it's located in New York City. We have these benefits of things that are never a dollar basis, purely a function of an accounting, okay? And we are also making a mistake of what the long view is, okay? We may have a bad trade deal now, but maybe it's a good idea to do that to get your foot in the door. Maybe it is you give up something to get something else. I mean, the art of the deal, it's the deal or the art of deals. It's free trade or free trades. It's America that has an influence around the world, or one that is doing the accounting. we've been unfairly treated in NATO. So we've contained our enemies. We've put the fights in other parts of the world and stopped them from coming here. What price do you put on that? On the trade front, what price is it to have the world run on U.S. standards? Let's be careful, U.S. standards. I mean, if you look at the Wi-Fi standard, the Internet standard, or the cell phone standards, we set the standard. CDMA, we are the ones who are setting how things are built, how communications are done. We're the ones that control that model. We're walking away from that? Is that really a wise move? I mean, I said to you, it's not. So tonight is a very sad night, as I greatly fear that Donald Trump is going to push us into the abyss. And he's going to push us into silly-ass trade wars that are set at a numerical balance sheet that he probably doesn't really understand. And that is not the way to analyze these things. And I'm afraid that American farmers and businessmen will suffer. And I'm afraid that we will lose our influence. So we're putting up trade barriers. We should be taking down trade barriers. We are the policemen of the world. We want to also be the judge and jury. We are the adjudicator of right and wrong and of conflicts. So be it. What a great position of power as a great empire. Every empire that has abdicated its responsibilities to police the world, to have its influence felt around the world, to set standards of education, language, law, electronics, mechanics, very soon becomes no more. We used to have the British standard, and now it's the U.S. standard. We, again, are leading in robotics. We're leading in the virtual reality integration. When you want to program, you program in English. It's not in Italian. It's not in Latin. It's not in Spanish. It's not in Russian. And is that not a phenomenal advantage for society? So as we destroy 200 years of global dominance, as we destroy our role as a global leader, as we no longer are the only superpower, I submit to you, you're going to pay a horrible price. And you'll regret the day that we've turned inward without really understanding the price we're going to pay for this. And I want you to know that today, for me especially, is a dark day. The English call them spots where accidents happen on the road to black spot. And we're in a black spot on world trade. And I'm wondering if Donald Trump is going to really go on with this thing and start this trade war with the Chinese now. He's gotten himself into this oil situation where he understands, and rightly so, that higher oil prices will hurt his bid for presidency when he runs for re-election. It will hurt his party in the midterm elections, and he desperately needs to hang on to those seats. And even as he realizes it, he's then taken actions that further exasperate the oil market. And he makes himself look like someone who is not, should we say, not quite serious. Is being tough and being rude a sign of strength? Is that really a negotiation ploy? No. That's bullshit. We are now hours away from what could be a very fateful decision. And that decision is how far Donald Trump's going to go with this trade war. How far he's going to go with this bad deal, I can negotiate a better deal. Because I haven't seen his better deals. Okay, I haven't seen a better Donald Trump health care. I haven't seen a better Donald Trump immigration policy. I have not seen a better Donald Trump, by a long shot, economic policy. I have not seen the art of the deal giving us good deals. Okay, I don't see American businesses in a better position in world trade, not by a long shot. So I don't understand what the hell they're talking about. I truly don't. I mean, I sit here and I'm watching them, and I've got probably as good information resources as most anybody. And I'm seeing these things turn negative for America, certainly not positive. And my question is, what in the hell are we doing? What are we really thinking about? So this is going to be one of those long nights, and I want to see what happens in the trade front. I'm very much concerned about what Donald Trump will or will not do. I know there's sometimes you have market events that are market events the market doesn't even know is a market event. And this trade situation will suck shut the global economy. It will absolutely cause a deeper recession than what we're headed for. It will absolutely diminish our power. And it will bring violence to America and Americans. Sometimes the fear of a mighty army, like the Romans used to do, is something that maybe lets you not have to fight as many fights. And I don't know if Donald Trump really understands that. He was a guy who was a draft dodger. The bone spur was a common thing in New York City at that time. I remember the doctors were offering that for people who could pay up. And so now all of a sudden this is a great military mind and leader understanding world power. I don't buy that bullshit for a minute. I don't buy the narrative. But I can put up with a lot of that stupid crap with him and put up with a lot of, the blow and go and a lot of exaggerations. But now we are entering into trade wars. And we are entering into trade sanctions. And we are entering into, again, the Donald Trump signature, blowing things out of proportion, exaggerating, misstating the facts. And he's trying to, rile up his group of people. And I don't know. I don't want Mr. Left Shock Absorb at the factory deciding my fate or my politics. I don't want people who have never been anywhere, never done anything, don't have anything, becoming the people that the politicians kowtow to, okay? Now, I obviously don't want the extremely rich also, but I want to find something in the minute, among the people who are doing things, the people who are making things happen, the people who are creating. And I can tell you that in many circles, this new America is not registering very well, and it's not benefiting America, and is not moving us in a direction we want to move in. And I don't know if anyone really close to Donald Trump can say to him, are you really thinking about this trade war? Are you really thinking about these Iranian sanctions? Are you really thinking about, on one hand, you're taking oil out of the market and you're compelling Saudi to replace that oil? Are you really thinking carefully about this trade war where your own manufacturing companies are warning that it's a mistake? So this may be the art of the deal, and it may be a very sophisticated negotiation, or it may be a damn fool thing to do. And we're at such a moment right now. We're at such a moment where this trade situation is about to be decided. And I truly wonder if anyone's paying attention. I truly wonder if the markets understand where this is going to go. And being a creature of the markets, I can tell you the markets are not as good an anticipatory vehicle of events as they pretend they are. And I can tell you they tend to react to things behind times, and they tend to get significant events wrong. And when they get it wrong and they get it decided it's wrong, well, that's when your market wipes out. And this trade situation that is growing by the day is now becoming a really, really, really dangerous thing to Americans, to American businesses, to American jobs. Now, again, like I said, the numerical calculation of a balance of trade deficit or surplus that does not take into account content and origins of the content, does not take into account services, and is strictly a merchandise deficit or surplus calculation, is very primitive and not valid. So we have a simple man making simple decisions on a simple analysis of very complicated facts. Is that ever going to turn out well? Are we really moving in a direction that's for the benefit of the United States? We're being left out of more and more trade negotiations right now, okay? This idea that you can do unilateral negotiations, well, there aren't any negotiations going on. In other words, it's not working. You know, these huge trade pacts like the TPP was something that we really, really, really should have been in, and really, really, really should have fought for a position, and we really, really walked away from it. I mean, I had my super conservative people tell me how it was some kind of conspiracy of the deep state or restate and all this shit, and you go, oh, bullshit. You know, you can conspiracy, you can go into this conspiracy stuff and just destroy your life. Okay, you can go to extreme in these things where you're giving too much power to entities that really don't have any power over you. And you can come to conclusions that are just not valid. And we are doing so much of that right now that I fear for how this turns out, okay? And again, I want to stress to you that this is one of those moments where you say yes or no, where you agree or disagree, where you put on your hat and your coat and you go home. And right now we are walking into a trade war, and we are walking into one that can be very dangerous to America, and I don't think anybody's paying attention to it. And I don't know that anyone understands how this thing can keep growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. So we'll have to see if Donald Trump's going to back down, if he's going to go ahead and respond in an intelligent way, or if it's just going to be this blow and go, antagonistic attitude he has towards other world leaders. And I think it's a very sad time. I can tell you that opening up China to trade was a great thing. I believe if we didn't do that, there would have been a much uglier, much more dangerous China that we'd have to deal with right now. I think by walking away from Europe, we leave Europe vulnerable to anti-American enemies who will move into the vacuum we create. And Europe was more an American type of society and a culture, more towards free trade, more towards capitalism than socialism. And I wonder now if we're not pushing them in another direction where they turn on us. And I'll give you an example in Mexico. Mexico, a huge dyed-in-the-wool socialist, huge anti-American, funded by some of the very powerful drug cartels, a friend of Chavez and Fidel Castro, and a dyed-in-the-wool socialist has moved into a position of power in Mexico with an overwhelming landslide, not a Donald Trump one, but a real one. And the other situation is, if I can hesitate to add this, that he drove them into the arms of the waiting socialists. Okay, the attacks on the Mexicans and on their border and on their society and on immigration has driven them in a direction that is contrary to what is good for America. Are you hearing me? Are you understanding that these people are not going to say, oh, well, this is Donald Trump and this is the art of deal and this is just how he is and it's okay because that's just Donald Trump. And it's okay for America to bully us. Okay? And other people go, America's bullying you and pushing you around. You don't have to put up with this. And now what's happening is we are absolutely destroying relationships we absolutely got to have. Do you really believe that America is so mighty and so strong that in this crazy mixed-up world we can go it alone? No way in hell. Okay? The world has 7 billion people. We're 350 million of them. So there are a whole lot more billions of people out there that have their dreams and aspirations in governments. And I would also suggest that they are also weaponizing. and they're also colonizing, and they're also having societies going through profound changes. And I don't know that I want societies globally to go through changes that we don't have a narrative in. We are not part of the conversation. And on Donald Trump, we're doing just that thing. This trade war, as no matter how unfair tariffs are to American businesses, will end very badly. And today is the day that Donald Trump moves into his self-imposed deadline for trades and trade sanctions, and we want to see what he's going to issue, and we want to see exactly what he's going to do. But if he takes this thing this way, he's crossed a lot of lines, but he's not at the breaking point just yet. And I want to say to you that, with the deadline approaching now on the 6th, he's at that line. And I am with fear and trepidation, I'm waiting to see exactly what he does and how this works out. From immigration policy that's gone awry, from economic policy and huge deficits that are not going to make any sense along with tax programs that doesn't work, to a health care fiasco in the making, to trade wars with Canada, to a border war building with Mexico, we have taken ourselves into this ugly side that we don't need to be in. We don't benefit from this. It is not to our benefit to approach the world in this way. I hope you really understand this, okay? This is not the art of the deal. This is not clever deal making. This is nasty confrontation almost for the sake of confrontation. And this is a man who may end up destroying a lot of generations of work and growth and development on, should we say, positions that are not well thought out and positions that are not even, should we say, enlightened. So the Trump trade wars now begin in earnest. And I want to say to you that at some point, you're going to wake up one day to a much uglier, much poorer, much less powerful America as we scream Trump, 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 Trump.